Hello, 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 everyone. Good afternoon. This is Preet, and you're listening to me on Spice FM. As you know, I bring you a variety of programs on my show, variety of people from all areas and backgrounds. And today, as we all know, it is a Women's International Day. So I wish everyone a happy International Women's Day. So get my words right way around. So, and for that, there's a lot of ladies or women who are inspiration to us all. And I've got someone who is joining me this afternoon who has been inspiration to a lot of us, to me especially. I always look up to her. I think she's got so much to give, and she has been very helpful indeed in our community. And she's very well known, very popular, and of course, there is a lot to learn. So, like Oprah Winfrey says, the great courageous act that we must all do is to have the courage to step out of our history and past so that we can live our dreams. So, and this lady who is with me today, this afternoon, is actually does live up to her dreams, and she is inspiring, and she's going to be talking about her journey when she came here in UK and how she got around, and what are her experiences and what is she doing now. So there is a lot. I must say, she has got a lot to kind of tell us, and stay tuned with us. Me and please welcome my guest Veena Soni, who is with me, and stay tuned so you can listen to her and her story, her journey in UK. Hi, Veena Soni ji. How are you, Pabi? I call her Pabi,
Hello.
by the way.
Yeah.
So
Hello.
be
Hello.
very,
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. And good
oh,
afternoon, all the
yes, good
listeners as well
afternoon.
this afternoon. And of course, happy International Women's Day today. Quite an achievement that we've got to a stage where we've actually got a day which recognizes all the work that women do throughout the world. So excellent this is.
Yeah, and in this year's, apparently there's always a theme every year. So I think this year's theme is choose to challenge. So, I mean, I just thought I will let everyone know that choose to challenge is doing yoga on Facebook today for me. So I'll be sending that link later on. So
Excellent.
yes, tell us about you.
I
Uh,
think I think you're right. Choose to challenge is probably the right word to use when I think of what I've certainly done throughout my life. Because, of course, I came into this country in 1960 at a time when you're coming from India and it's a long journey. It's not what it is today that you just get onto a flight and you come here. But in those days, I was only 5 years old. I was with my mom and my sister, and none of us spoke a word of English. So there were three of us traveling all the way from Punjab to Bombay. Then from Bombay, we went by ship to the Middle East. And then from the Middle East, we went by train across Europe and ended up in Calais, and then got the across to Dover, and then came all the way to London where my dad met us. So for us, it was a 3 week journey without a word of English. And so,
in itself, when you do have a language barrier,
of
and
course.
being a woman at that time as well.
And it was new experiences because living in Punjab in the 60s was totally different to what it is today. So therefore, every part of your journey, you're seeing new things and learning new things and new experiences. So I can remember coming across Europe, and that was the first time we saw snow. And the train was going so slowly, and the people were putting cups outside and handing them to people and saying, fill them with this. And then they would show us and say, look, you see this white stuff, it turns to water when you bring it in. And it's so, all these sort of things for a 5-year-old, like, wow, there's this white stuff and it's turned into water.
Hands-on
So,
experience, you're learning everything,
yes,
as you
absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
took a journey at a very young age and you still remember. So
Of course.
uh,
And then from there, you see, when I came to Newcastle, the interesting thing was that there were so few ethnic minority young people in school at that point that the teachers didn't know what to do. So going into school, and if you didn't have the English language, there was still that formal teaching of sitting at a desk and the teacher sitting at the front and telling the children what to do. And because we didn't have the English language, they would sort of put us into the corner and say, go in the play corner, and why don't you play with the toys there or whatever, just to keep you busy, because you
Yep.
have to legally
Those
go.
days, yeah, just stay busy, do
Yeah,
something.
yeah. So, legally you have to come into school, but actually this, we don't know what to do with you, so stay there. And eventually we reach a point where I thought, no, I'm, sick of doing this. I want to learn as well. So that's how I learned English, by watching and listening other people and hearing how they speak the language. And from that, we learned how to work in the classroom.
Yeah.
And that's basically how I learned English, and basically how I went through the education system,
Yeah.
and studied, and everything we learned was through having learned the English and then learning in school. So it was quite a steep learning curve through school. And I suppose the turning point in my life in education was when I was 16, and one of the teachers had said to me,
Yeah.
and my father was with me, and he said, I can't understand why you want your child to do GCSEs, because it was all levels. I don't know why you want that, because I thought in your country all you do is the girls get married and run a home and have kids.
Yeah.
And I thought, hang on, why should I be labeled that I will just get married and have children and look after a house?
You
Just,
already knew what you wanted to do, so which is great. So you know,
and that goes back to what you're saying about challenging,
mm,
because you have to challenge when somebody, but at that time that's the way people used to think. And here and there were stereotypes around what people felt that certain communities were going to do. And I think that's when I made up my mind that whatever happened, I was going to go on to university and do something with my life, and try and change the mindset of people within our own community, as well as those within the host communities and so on. So that was probably the turning point. And then we decided. So my dad, like every Asian sort of family, want you to be a doctor when you grow up, and so go to university, be a doctor.
yeah,
And I'm sort of thinking, no. I want to be a teacher, because then I can actually go and change the mindset of other people. Whereas being a doctor and working in a hospital is a totally different thing to do. So that's why I went into teaching. And I think I was probably one of the first Asian girls in Newcastle to go on to university. Because before that, nobody used to even think of sending their daughters to university. But my father was very keen that we all got educated, that all his children were educated.
you see, out of the parent, if there's even one parent who is willing to get their children educated, especially girls, that
Mhm.
makes such a difference. That's a huge step in itself.
It is, because there were, certainly in the university I was in, there was no other Asian girl studying. I was the only one, and I did my teacher training course. And again, you have the challenges, because when you go into schools, they're not used to seeing ethnic minority teachers. So when they would see, so naturally the children look at you and the teachers and thought, well, actually, we don't really need to give this person the same as we would with other teachers. And so there were challenges all the way through, from training to be a teacher to becoming a teacher, and then going into schools and working. So there was a lot to go through before you go. So I became a teacher, and I worked in a number of schools, and one of the schools I worked in was Wingrove. And I was very focused right from the beginning that what I wanted to do was to change this mindset, not only of the teachers, but also the mindset of the parents themselves, because even the parents often think that we can educate the boys, but we don't need to educate our daughters.
Yeah.
And in different communities, people have different ways of thinking, and some do not see education as a priority. And so to change that mindset, I did a lot of work in school with parents. I set up a lot of parent groups. I used to encourage parents to come in. I used to teach them how to support their child at home, how to, because, simple thing like sending a book home with a child to read at home. If the parents are not educated and cannot understand the value, then how are they going to support their child, even just to read a book or to listen?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, just where you said it, I mean, earlier, it doesn't matter which community, not even, doesn't mean it was just in ethnic
No,
community,
no, no.
over in English culture as well.
Of course, in every community.
In 1920, like a drama series, and that time, of course, there was limited education, or they didn't want to
Absolutely.
go and do any work. And one of the girls, she wants to make an effort to kind of go and get into politics or something. But these are lords and the mayors, but they had some kind of hesitation for their daughter to go and achieve that kind of thing. They didn't think that it was for a girl to do. It was only
Absolutely.
home. But, like you said, you need to step out of that.
You have to step out of it. And I think if one does it, then it encourages other parents to think, other people to think about, actually, if he can do it or she can do it, then I can do it. And I think it's really just a starting point. And I think the most difficult is for the first person to take the step. And then it becomes easier for others then to follow. And of course, everyone now, there's no difference between boys or girls. Everyone goes off to university, or those who want to go do
Yeah.
go on to university. So it's totally different. But it was a different time in the 60s to what it is today.
And you stepped out of it. You stepped, made a mark, you did. So it,
and
it set an example, I would say, in our Asian culture in Newcastle, and everyone kind of looks up to
well,
you.
there were challenges then, because people often sort of start thinking, hang on, does this mean that they're going to become westernized, and this is going to happen and that's going to happen? Because that's one of the first fears, isn't it, that when somebody steps out of something or a way of working or living, they become totally, they're going to become westernized and gore banjana, or this is going to happen, that's going to happen, and
Or something like that. Or
yeah,
there's never a positive word
no,
or language used for
no, that isn't.
about or follow their dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is something still, I think, kind of there's a bit of a taboo still there, especially in obviously ethnic minorities, as you know.
Yes, there is. But we were very fortunate, as I say, because there were a lot of challenges when I was in schools, and Wingrove was amazing. But I do know that some schools I used to go to, it was very difficult, because the people had this mindset that this is an ethnic minority teacher, or why should we have to? So there were different ways of thinking, and for me, this was a challenge that it was important for me to be able to change those mindsets and support people in how do we understand other communities, other people, and their aspirations and what they want out of life. And so I did a lot of work. I used to do a lot of work around race equality, on diversity, and helping people to understand others. And but that was not just within the host community, because I thought it was very important to work with parents and people from our own communities, the ethnic minority community, so they understand the importance of education for their children. And I used to have workshops where we would teach them how to support their child when they were reading their books, or for writing, or even using television, and say you can use television to help your child to understand and learn the English language, and not just always have Indian channels on, or do this, or sort of all these kind of things. So I did a lot of work, produced a lot of toolkits. I produced a lot of different kinds of resources in school that are used, that at that time were used in almost all the schools in Newcastle, to support ethnic minority young people. And I think, they say the proof of the pudding is when somebody comes to you, because whenever now, if somebody sees me, and even at the last, I remember I was at a conference and somebody came to me and said, Mrs. Soni, you don't remember me. I'm a barrister now, but you taught me and you said to me, you can do it if you want to. And I'm a barrister now, but I would never have got here if you hadn't given me that, push and said to me, you can do it. And because of that encouragement, I'm where I am today. And lots of people do. And I just feel that, that little bit helps.
Your children, and they have achieved well, and I know you have encouraged a lot of our youngsters in our community.
Yeah.
And and they all like you, they love you. In fact,
thank you.
so,
I know. I love them all. They're just like my own children.
That's important. That's important. And coming from someone, especially coming from our ethnic group, or it makes a difference.
It does.
And especially it is so required in our communities, because sometimes parents themselves, they pull their own children down by saying unkind words. They think they're being kind to,
because they all see that our children, and certainly years ago, I think there's a lot more, and this new generation are quite open to their child following any field. But there was a time when, if you're not a doctor, if you're not an accountant, if you're not a solicitor, well, actually, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. And that was the attitude. And it's funny because I do remember once in parents' evening, and the parents came to me and they said, the child wanted to be a teacher, and they said, we know our child is not very bright, so we've said, if you can't be anything else, just be a teacher. And I thought, okay, where does that leave me? So that was the way people thought.
Yeah, right from the ancient times. I mean, teacher is like, the status is there, high up. We call. So the platform for that guru is quite high up there. So it's a very respected job. Not everyone can be a teacher, because you need a lot of patience, of course, knowledge.
Of course. And I think it's interesting what you said just a little bit earlier, because I don't think our young people, certainly in those days, aspired because they would think, I don't think I can do it. I don't think. That was sort of almost the mindset in young people. And I would try and encourage. And I remember I did some research once in a number of schools, and I said to them, would you like to be a teacher? And they said, I can't be a teacher. And I said, why can't you be a teacher? Because I'm an ethnic minority. And I said, well, what does that matter, whether you're from a particular community or living in a particular area? Because that's another part of it. People think that if I'm living in certain areas, in disadvantaged areas, or my parents are running a takeaway or a corner shop, that I can't become this. And that was the attitude I found at those times, that this is the way young people thought. And I would say, but you can do anything you want to. And that's when I set up the project with the University of Newcastle on encouraging young people into teaching particularly, and then we did in other areas as well, because we felt that if young people are not seeing role models within our own communities, then how are they going to aspire to do something in their lives? And which is, I just think it's wonderful. Now we've got so many teachers, or certainly, a larger number than we did. At one time, there was only 2-3 of us, ethnic minority teachers in school, no other. But now at least, more people are thinking about it and going into teaching. And certainly those who have experienced and we've supported and helped are very grateful for the support that they've had to get to where they are now today. So it's been good.
I guess you just need that push. You got to push people, and I don't think there is any kind of area where there isn't.
No.
Everywhere we are kind of reaching. Our people are reaching. They are competitive.
Absolutely.
They have focus. They are ready to achieve, which is
amazing. And with that in mind, some of the work I've been doing now, because but going on from there, because that actually is what we're doing now, just what you're saying about how we are achieving and how that can support young people today. But after while I was in teaching, I actually was approached by the Home Office, who headhunted and gave me a ring and said, "Can we have a chat with you?" And I'm thinking, have I done something wrong? Or, you sort of think, God, why is somebody ringing me from a senior person at the Home Office asking me, can we have a chat with you? So, and they offered me a job and said, we've seen the work you've done. We're really impressed, and we'd like you to come and support us and help us. And that's when I went to work with the Home Office, and I was assistant head at that point within the Home Office here. And,
Right.
I did a lot of work at that time. I started off working with the Drugs Prevention Service, which was very much around, there was just nothing at all happening in the Northeast, particularly around ethnic minority communities. So we produced a lot of resources. I produced lots of toolkits which were sent to police, probation, health service, everywhere in the Northeast. And then that was then replicated everywhere in the country nationally. And the same piece of work was done elsewhere. I did lots and lots of research. We did produced lots of campaigns. We looked into all, because there was a barrier at that time where parents didn't feel that our children are involved in drugs. They've got nothing, they've no idea, they don't, you put on this blank that it's not happening in my house.
Everything
And
was brushed under the carpet, even if there was, just thinking nothing is happening.
nothing is happening. And we could see, we had the evidence that all this was happening, but the parents were not willing to accept. And from that, then we produced and did a lot of work I did, and even within the services, because we felt if the services were not going to be appropriate and support, how can you go and encourage and support a parent who finds something in their house and they think, I don't want my child to be taken by the police, or this happening or that. So glue, I did all that work with a lot of partners here in the Northeast. And
Side, you've done other works as well. So tell us a little bit more about it. I know you're a teacher, you worked with the Home Office.
Home Office. And then, because you were saying about aspirations and coming, from India, one of the things you'd be amazed, and I'm sure you sort of would say straight away, you find that you go to India, and I'm talking about India because of just recently, last year, we went there and took school there. And you can go into a village where they've got nothing. So I took a group of young people from here to a village in Gujarat where they were all farmers. So they would get up in the morning, the children, go to the field and come back. So laborers, but they would come back and come into school. And if you asked any one of them, they will say, I want to be a spaceman. I want to be an accountant. I want to be this. I'm going to work for NASA. I'm going to do this. And you think, these are young people on the ground who have very little money, and or maybe laborers, but their parents are determined that their children should study, and their aspirations were so high. And the young people here, when they were saying, what would you like to be? They'll say, I want to be a footballer. I want to be a hairdresser. I want to be a beautician. And you think sort of here, they've got everything.
Yeah.
So what is it that makes a person change? Why is it that here we have young people who are aspiring to be hairdressers and so on? Because we took young people from disadvantaged area and we got them to meet people who were probably from that same sort of kind. And yet their aspirations are so high, whereas the aspirations here are not. And that's what we're trying to encourage.
Those people who are from very poor families and maybe have less of social media, of, access to all those kind of things. All they know is they study and they have got some maybe...
And they've got a means. That's the way out for them, isn't it?
To kind of, they are encouraged to become one, or they have got that aspiration here, because we are open to so much of media and a lot of hairdressers all over the place, and these magazines and the shows and the whatnot. So people think this is the way to go.
And it isn't belittling any job, because I think every job is important in its own way. But what I'm trying to say is that our young people don't think, or that group of young people didn't think that I can go that far, because in their mind they think that's probably all I can do. I don't think I can do. Whereas what we're trying to say, and what we're, within these visit, what we're trying to do is to show you can do anything you want to in the world. You can be anybody in the world. It's up to you. If you can focus and aspire to be there, anyone can reach any position in their lives. They
Yeah.
just have to work hard to get to where they want to go.
Nothing goes without hard work. Everything
Without hard work.
is that. Doesn't matter how intelligent you are, you need that hard work.
You still have to put the effort into it, and that's what we're trying to go. So we've got about, I mean, there are hundreds of schools linked up, and I think I've linked about 60, 70 schools with schools throughout India and other places, where young people talk to each other through Skype, or they talk to each other on FaceTime. Schools share activities together, they work together. And one of the best ways of young people learning is to learn by listening to others and talking to others. And the people learn the value through others. I just think one of the conferences I was involved in was featured around water, say, for example. And we had young people from Delhi who were saying, actually, we don't waste water. You know, we have, the water is, we only get water so many hours a day, and the rest of the time we have to use the pump, and we have, the electric, and if anybody turns the pump off or forgets to put the motor on, there's no water in the tank. So they were explaining these features, but for somebody living, say, here or in Scotland, they couldn't understand this, because for them, just switching on the water, it's there all the time.
Yeah.
And they were sort of saying, so water is a very important feature for us. We don't waste it because we value it. And any wastewater, we put it out to the plants. So we water our plants, we do this, we do that, because we don't want to waste the water. And whereas here, people were sort of saying, well, actually, I'll go in the shower and I could be standing there 45 minutes and that water's on. And they're saying, but that's 45 minutes of water being wasted.
Yeah.
So they all learned the value. And at the end of it, all of us said, we're not going to waste any more water. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. So that's how they learn.
I must say this is really, really good. I mean, the example you've given is so valuable, because we read a lot of stuff. We could be reading about India, what goes on, electricity shortages or water shortage or whatever. But, unless you talk to a person, you absorb a lot more, like you've
Absolutely
created that web kind of a link for them to interact with each other. They are learning a lot more, because you're paying attention to someone.
Yes.
Like I am listening to you, paying attention, because it's one-to-one conversation without any distraction.
It's absolutely, if you actually talk to somebody, it actually helps you change your mindset. But just reading or the teacher telling you something doesn't really mean anything to you at all. It's when you actually understand what something's about that you actually understand. And it's the same with when I talk about there was no question of less respect or feeling more. When you see, in fact, that a lot of the young people and the teachers were so respectful, and they said, these are young people who get up in the morning, go out and do their work, and come back into school in time to have that education, and then maybe go back into fields. But isn't that amazing that people are willing to do? Whereas a lot of kids get up, some children might get up in the morning and say, oh, I can't be bothered to go to school today. I'm not going, because it's there for them, but they don't want to go for whatever reason. And I just think it really helps you to understand the value of something.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes until you see that or talk to somebody about that, you don't value what you have already.
Like you just said about the value, obviously, and like you said, some of the children don't want to wake up in the morning to go to school. So today, all the schools have gone back.
Yes,
all children wanted to go back.
Yeah, you're right. All of them would have been up early saying, want to meet our friends, we want to go and see somebody else, and they'll all be going to
that. School is so much fun and important.
Yes, hasn't it? And I bet you, children will value the schools more today than they probably have done previously.
Before. Yeah. So I think it's just whatever you can't have, you
That's
value.
what you value more. That's it.
I
And I
mean,
think that's what it
what do
is.
you think of it? I mean, are you like positive this is going to be?
Hope so.
Yeah.
Hope so. Hope so. Fingers crossed everything stays well. And certainly young people need to be in schools. I think it's so important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are you? I mean, what kind of work are you now doing? Because I know you have been very active in Hindu temple and interfaith, and I think, yeah, that kind of.
Yeah, well, I do sort of still because for many, many years I worked with the Hindu temple, and we used to have lots of different classes. We used to hold lots of conferences and so on. So we did a lot of work with the temple, and I for many, many years I did. And then alongside that, of course, I've got the Hindu Cultural Trust, which we've been now running for over 20 years. And again, we've had lots of activities, and generally you find anyone who moves into the area would sort of find out from a friend or whatever and then contact me. So I still do all that, and we've still, but because of the lockdown, things have been a little bit quieter, but certainly once it opens, we will be going back to doing lots of activities and all sorts of work around that. Um, as well as that, I work with, this is all volunteering work that I do. So I do work with Age Concern. We ring people up, people who are isolated on their own, and I like to try and see. And I think more than the most important thing is you find that a lot of our own ethnic minority people don't want to contact anybody and say, I'm lonely, or I'm isolated, I'm on my own, I need help. So I do a lot of ringing around to people just to ask them, are you okay? Is anything? Have a chat, give them someone to talk to and feel that they're part of, that they're not forgotten, that
Yeah,
somebody cares about them.
that
And in
is.
this day and age, lots of people are away from their parents. You have to recognize that people have to go, young people have to go where their jobs are. And it's hard.
There is a lot of young people who are going through mental anxiety and
Absolutely.
depression and whatnot. So just because you can't, kind of isolate youngsters just because they're young, they
Hmm.
actually have more problems than probably older ones. Older ones, yes, because they're aged and they're lonely, but the youngsters can
Everybody.
be
I,
lonely.
I don't think age has anything to do with it.
Yeah, I don't think that pandemic was, targeting just certain age. It was like everyone was.
Absolutely,
I
absolutely. I
felt
think
that.
you're right.
Felt that.
And we forget that, and often we just isolate because I think we look at one age group, but we forget that others can be impacted just as much. And think of all the young people students who have come from abroad and are studying here. They were expecting to be at having that face-to-face education in universities, and because of the lockdown, things didn't work out. And however much support you get from the universities or whatever, it's not the same as that face-to-face. And it is very difficult when you have left your own parents. You may be from an area where, you might be the first one out of that particular area. Your parents have got that money, sort of in one way or another, and sent you here. So might be the first time you've ever left your city or village or town, and then to come here and be isolated, and maybe even just in your own room or in your own little area all the time. Just imagine them. I mean, again, I do talk to many people and ring them, and they're aware that if there's a problem, they can ring me and so on. So I do get a lot of phone calls where people say, just needed someone to talk to, so can, and
A
that's what I'm.
very simple and a very important question coming your way is that how do you manage a family life along with all the things you do?
You can only do that if you have a good family, and most important, a good husband. Because to be honest, right from the beginning, I've been very fortunate, touch wood, and that my husband Raju he's one of these who always said, I am here. Anything you want to do, you do. And I will always help, support, and encourage you. And whether I was teaching, when I was with government office, I might be away for a week. I was assistant head, so I was working 2 days a week in London then. I was running so many conferences everywhere in the country, you know, nationally. So I could be away I could go on a Monday morning and not come back until Friday evening. And we had 3 children, and he supported and helped. And Mom used to come from India, so she would be here as well, my mother-in-law. And together we did. And he never once said to me, listen, you know, you need to be at home, you know, you've got the kids here or so. Never. He said, no, you've got to do it. You go and you know, sort of do that. I want you to do it.
I mean, they say, you know, behind every successful man, there is a woman, but
And
behind
it's the same.
a woman, it
There
has
is a man.
as well.
Absolutely. And he is
I mean,
amazing.
before marriage, it's your parents who encourage you to achieve what you want. And then after marriage, each other's support,
Yes.
each other's partner, whether you're a man
It's important.
or a woman.
Yeah,
And
you need to have
women to kind of accelerate like you did, and be away from the family, still have kids, still have the balance, and be able to reach out and do everything and help people.
Yes, it is.
It is something need a dedication, of course, and a big support of your family, which is, you know,
Absolutely.
hats off to your you know, bhaiya,
Yeah,
your family who gave you that support
absolutely.
and strength.
Mhm. And
And
the children, because you know the children could be, I could have been sitting there and helping them with their homework, say, and then you get a phone call and somebody saying, listen, I just need someone to talk to. And they would be, that's fine, Mum, you go. And I would be sitting there talking to this person, because believe it or not, there's also this other aspect of, I mean, we're talking about today, but throughout the last, goodness knows how many, you have people who come and settle here who have nobody else to talk to, and they don't know how to talk to. You know, who's their friend, who is not them, who's going to, and we live in a very close-knit society, which means it's very difficult. If you were, even if you wanted to just talk about something, you sort of think, who do I talk to? Because what I don't want is the whole of the world knowing that I've spoken to so-and-so, or the whole of the world to know this or what.
it's a very big problem, because the trust, having the trust in someone and knowing who to trust is
Yes. Yeah.
a concept for any person in when they first come to, it doesn't matter where
It
they are.
doesn't matter first or what, but you need somebody you can talk to.
It's very,
Everybody needs.
everyone needs it, and one
Yes.
should have it, but it's
Yes.
knowing
Who? It's knowing who. And this is why I would never say no to anybody, because I know how difficult it must be for anyone, I mean, we, you know, I get phone calls from all sorts of people, and it could be something very, and it's not, it doesn't have to be there's a problem. It's just sometimes just someone, I'm missing my mom and she's there and I've got no one else here. The kids, you know, it's been a hard day. I just needed somebody to, you
to
know,
listen to, yeah,
and you know,
yeah. Yeah, no,
yeah,
I think that makes such a difference. And if everyone thought, and
it does. And you would know, you know, you would have talked to your mother, or you would have talked to your dad, or you would talk to, but you know, when you're here,
yeah.
so you need somebody.
Oh,
So I try and provide that kind of trust and service.
I know. I mean, you do. I mean, I've always known you like doing everything, but yet you manage the social aspect of the life as well. You know, going to parties and attending weddings and
Yes, of course, of
what.
course.
So you're all rounder. I must say, I salute you for who you are and
Yeah,
what you do. I mean, I've always
and
great.
yeah. And I'm very fortunate, because you know that I was made deputy lieutenant for Tyne and Weir,
Wait,
so I do a
wow.
yes. So I represent the Queen in a number of, and we do some lovely work, and everything from the citizenship ceremonies to other ceremonies I take part in, and it's an absolute privilege
If
it is
I'm
to do
not
that.
wrong, I think you had, did you receive
That's right. I got a Queen's Award as well. Yes, and our trust has also got the Queen's Award as well. That was awarded the Queen's Award as well.
Oh, wow.
So the trust has had the Queen's Award. I've had the Queen's Award, and touch wood, and I'm very, very, very lucky. I've been to lots of events at, you know, Downing Street, at this. I've been to the cabinet offices. I've been to the Royal Palace a number of times, and just very, very honored and privileged, I feel, to have done so much in my life.
That is good, but you have given a lot, so you deserve it. So
Thank you.
it doesn't
Sorry, thank you.
otherwise. It the privileges also come with a lot of dedication, and when you have given something out to the community, which you have, and I think it's very apparent, and everyone can see that. It's so. What are you doing these days? Are you doing something other than what you've told us so far? Is there anything else?
So as I say, we because of the lockdown, things are a bit limited, and everything is on Zoom or on a phone call. But had we not been in lockdown, the idea was last year I was in India, and we've set up some work, because in India particularly, you'll be aware. So a few years back, we raised money and set up in South India, because around special needs particularly,
Right.
because we found that people with any particular special needs or mental illness or whatever, unlike in this country where we have so many facilities available for people who have different needs, there was nothing. So we have, and it's just awful, because there were some places where, say, they would lock their child up or chain their child up because they had a special need, and they were saying, you're not allowed out of this room, you can't do this, and there were lots and lots of need for education for parents, for families, to understand that because your child has a special need does not mean to say that you have to lock them up, or you have to chain them up, so you can't do this, or you can't. So we raised a lot of money, and we set up, and doctors from here went and they educated, and they set up nurses in different areas. We used to go and educate parents and families and support. So that's been going on, and that's something that we want to try and take forward.
Yeah,
And the other aspect,
that's very good, because in this country, like we do, I mean, a lot of I must say, British are very, very kind in that
mhm,
manner, and people,
absolutely,
especially with
absolutely,
special needs, get a lot of attention, which is, so that human being can live their life with
yes,
whatever
absolutely, absolutely.
disability they have, but they're still not treated as disabled. But
No, no, no,
and
and
awareness is so important in our countries, like
yes.
or Pakistan or any Asian.
Yes, a lot of the ethnic minority countries, or a lot of the Asian countries, don't have those facilities as yet. And but it's happening. It's growing. Even the government recognizes, understands, and want to do something. So we're at that stage. It's just, 100 years here, things were different, and now we're moving on. So it is there. And of course, as I say, 10 years ago, schools were available there for people who had mental or physical disabilities, and now we're working on that. So that really is a project I'm working on at the moment, where I'm very keen to work with teachers and schools, and because I have a lot of links in Gujarat, and one of the because I go a lot to Gujarat, and a lot of the princes, or what used to be the royal family there, a lot of the princes have spoken, and we are working together on trying to look at how we can support and set up areas, schools, whatever, so that young people can be supported. So that really is my next project, and I want to try and spend more time in India working on that as well, to try and take it forward and work with teachers and train teachers in schools. Yeah, so
No,
that's my sort of latest, what I want to do.
that's good. So, I mean, the time really flies. I mean, we're coming nearly 10 to 2. So, of course, we would like you to tell us any message because it's a Women's International Day. So, would you like to send a message across to anyone who is listening to our show this afternoon?
Well, what I would like to say is that I think it is very important that every single woman feels and understand that they are important, and they can do anything they want in the world. They can aspire and do, and many have done. We have so many role models, so many people who are out there that we can see who've achieved so much. I mean, if you look out at the Northeast, whether they're in every field, accountants, solicitors, barristers, business people. Look at the big business families here and how women have supported them. I think everywhere you look, you will see that there are people. And if that you can't or you don't know how to go about to do something, you know that the Awesome Women campaign that was set up, and it's there to support women. So if you think, actually, I'd like to do this, but I'm not quite sure how, or I'd like somebody to mentor me, to help me, to guide me, then give us a ring. I'm more than happy at any time for anyone to ring me.
Uh, um, what's that organization called?
It's the Awesome Women campaign, and it was set by the Asian Business Connection. It was set up actually a couple of years ago, but because of the lockdown, things have not moved as fast as we'd wanted. We were going to hold a conference and do also, but we're there to support, and this is what we want to do. We want to help people. We want to mentor women. We want to support them, because we know there is a lot of already out there. There's lots of people who are absolutely brilliant and doing brilliant work, but there are lots who are a bit, you know, frightened and thinking, can I take the first step? Can I walk out? Because it's talking about a step and taking that challenge and saying, actually, I'm going to do this.
Yeah,
I'll do it. Because it's the most frightening step, is the first step where you think, am I doing the right thing? You know,
yeah.
should I be sitting at home looking after my family and my husband and my, you know, in-laws and this and that? Or can I take that step and actually look and work towards what I wanted to do also? Achieve what I wanted to achieve in my life. And it is the most important.
Just leap out of it and you will see the ocean.
Yeah,
So the world is an ocean.
absolutely.
Pond to, if you want to reach. I think that leap, that one step is
the hardest.
The hardest. It is the hardest.
It is the hardest. But once you're out of it, there's lots of support there for you and help for you. So it'll be, and certainly, and everyone can ring me. I'm always happy to help anyone, any way I can.
So we are talking to Veena Soni. She has been a real good inspiration for everyone in Newcastle and beyond, which is throughout Northeast. And like you've heard, so much of her achievements. And yeah, please do contact her if you feel that you need help or you need to reach out. Just do ring her or contact her. Or contact Spice FM, and we'll pass on the details. So, you know, it's been really great.
Thank you for inviting me. Really grateful.
Pleasure. You know what? You're really inspiring, and especially for this particular day, I think you were the perfect woman to have you on.
Thank you.
And for people to listen. Sometimes you know person, but you don't know actually what they do.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that was really nice. And having you on the show was really, it was enjoyable. Last minute thing, but we nailed it. and just before everyone goes, another actually very good saying of Oprah Winfrey, I would like to actually share with you. Think like a queen
Absolutely.
Not afraid to fail. Failure is another stepping stone to greatness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It doesn't matter, because like you say, failure means just move on to the next step. That's all it means. Nothing else.
A step to success.
To success.
If you fail, you don't know, you will never succeed. So I can't, you know, instant pass.
No, if you don't fail, you won't succeed. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And
really good saying. And I thought I'd say to everyone, especially women who hesitate to step out, who hesitate to take that initial, you know, effort. So thank you.
Thank you
for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure having you, and have a lovely, lovely day.